from the boundaries of the universe to the depth of your soul. Embark on a journey through the unknown and unexplained.
You know, since the series began, we've received an enormous amount of letters from viewers asking the question, are we alone? Well, tonight we'll look into a variety of stories from people just like you, who claim to have experienced a UFO sighting, encounter, or abduction. Alien artists, Pleiadians, dolphins, and UFOs. Those are a few of the stories being investigated. Our first story is perhaps the most famous UFO story of all time. Today, a half a century later, it still commands our interest. Our investigation takes us to a little town in the Southwest, a town called Roswell. What crashed near Roswell was a mystery in 1947. It's no less a mystery today. We join the voices of those who ask that the truth be told. Was it a government experiment? Was it a crashed ship from another world? Or was it, as the government says, nothing more than a simple weather balloon? After a rancher brought pieces of the wreckage to the Roswell Army Air Base, an official press release stated that it was a flying saucer. Within hours, however, the story was changed. The public was told a mistake had been made and the crashed object was nothing more than an ordinary weather balloon. Despite testimony and scores of reliable witnesses that have since come forward, the official stand today, nearly 50 years later, is still that it was just a military weather balloon. A new Air Force investigation announced its findings just weeks before this broadcast.
It wasn't a UFO. That's what the Air Force is saying after an 8-month investigation of a crash near Roswell, New Mexico. A crash that occurred 47 years ago. For years, there have been stories passed along by the residents that what the Air Force called a weather balloon was really a UFO, and that there were extraterrestrials on board. The Air Force tracked down people, combed archives, and even sent some old news photos to the CIA for analysis. It concluded what other government agencies had concluded for many years. There was no conspiracy to hide the truth.
Don Schmidt, author of UFO Crash at Roswell, has painstakingly researched every angle of the Roswell story, including the notion that the Army misidentified a weather balloon as a UFO.
The first press release that it was a flying saucer, and 6 hours later, we're sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there's no threat. There's nothing to be up in arms about. It's just a radar reflector device, constructed of foil, balsa wood, and baling twine. Now, even the rancher would have recognized the baling twine, certainly, and the rest of the material very conventional. And the very idea that the rancher, the sheriff, the deputies, the intelligence officer, the base commander, the counterintelligence officers, the engineers at Roswell, nobody could identify foil, sticks, and baling twine until General Rainey examines the material and it's just a weather balloon. The question is, which press release is the true story? We have over 500 witnesses testifying through sworn affidavit or video deposition that what was recovered out here at this site and at the debris field site just 40 miles from here was not manufactured on this earth.
Bob Shirkey is one of those witnesses. As an Army pilot stationed at Roswell, he got a close look at some of the recovered material as it was loaded onto a plane. He remembers the report that it was a flying saucer.
The very next day, there was a recant from 8th Air Force saying that it was a weather balloon that was found and not an unknown object. And all I can say to that is that we had weather balloons in base operations because the weather station was there also. And I would see them carry a balloon out, blow it up, and send it on its way with a radio sound and so forth. And what was brought through the hangar, through the building and loaded on the airplane was not the same material. It was not a weather balloon.
What more media places do we have to get?
We only have 3 more stops.
Okay. You'll get a list of them ready for me?
Yes, sir.
One important figure to express skepticism over the continuing balloon story is Congressman Stephen Schiff of New Mexico. His office has initiated its own investigation into the case. He believes official records pertaining to Roswell exist.
Can you imagine probably the best bomber group in the Army Air Corps saying that a weather balloon was a flying saucer? That would have been quite an embarrassment, and there should be some documentation of that going back and forth in Air Force, then Army Air Corps channels about how could this happen? You know, how could we make such fools out of ourselves if that is in fact what occurred? And I've asked the General Accounting Office to look for that documentation. I've also suggested they look at something else. There seems to be no doubt that these materials, when picked up, don't seem to have been treated like they were parts of a weather balloon. In other words, it seems to be uncontradicted that these materials were flown out of New Mexico under armed guard by military police. Now, weather balloons are not normally shipped under armed guard, so I've also suggested they look for the records as to who issued instructions suggesting that these materials be guarded to gunpoint. That is not how you'd normally see a weather balloon transported.
Public interest in the Roswell case has reached an all-time high as interest in UFOs in general is rising. Walter Hutt was the public information officer at Roswell, whose job it was to issue the official flying saucer press release. Hutt's Army experience with public information and UFOs has been called upon more recently. A couple of years ago, he and some partners opened a non-profit UFO museum in Roswell to satisfy a growing curiosity on the subject.
Radar and visual presentation from all 50 states. This
thing was big.
Several months ago, the Showtime cable network aired a special 2-hour movie about Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer sent to investigate the crash. Here the Major, played by Kyle MacLachlan, arrives at the debris-strewn ranch belonging to Mac Brazel, played by Dwight Yoakam.
Anything? You know those Japanese balloon bombs?
Yeah, made of rice paper, about 30 feet in diameter. They don't come apart when they land unless the bomb goes off. Then you'd see char marks everywhere.
Right. Was this gouge here before? Nope. All right. Let's just suppose Los Alamos or White Sands launched some ultra-experimental plane, rocket, or whatever.
They'd be out looking for it.
Maybe they are, maybe they can't find it. That happened.
Sherman, look around you. What do you see? I mean, what do you see geographically? This place may be remote by car, but not by plane. You'd have to be blind not to spot this from the air. Nobody's found anything because nobody's out looking. And that means this ain't ours.
It was less than 2 years after the end of World War II. The troops had come home, America was getting back to work and coming to terms with its new position as a global power. And the Cold War was heating up. In late June and early July, there were a series of strange reports from all over the world. People were seeing unrecognizable objects flying around with inexplicable trajectories. Some appeared to be round discs, others cigar-shaped, and the stories were not just from ordinary citizens. Many reports came from highly trained pilots, both civilian and military. New Mexico at the time was home to a number of highly classified military projects. On the night of July 4th, the central part of the state was hit by some of the most violent thunderstorms in memory. A rancher named Mac Brazel was one of a number of people who heard a loud explosion amidst the thunder. Investigators have established the sequence of events which then followed. July 5th. Brazel discovers a huge field of very strange lightweight metallic debris on his ranch, and the next day he brings it to the sheriff in Roswell. They then report the find to the Army Air Base. On July 7th, Brazel takes Major Jesse Marcel and another officer out to the debris field where they load up some of the material and bring it back to the base. The next morning, troops are sent to guard the debris field as well as an actual crash site 40 miles away. After Brazel talks to some local radio stations, Colonel Blanchard, the commander of the base at Roswell, dictates a press release saying the Army has captured a flying disc. That afternoon, the story hits the wires and phone lines in Roswell's are jammed. But within hours, Major Marcel is sent to Fort Worth with some of the debris, and there, General George Ramey gives Marcel some remnants of a weather balloon. At a hastily arranged press conference, Ramey says his officers had made a mistake, and the crashed object was in fact nothing more than a weather balloon with an attached radar reflector. And so the case was closed. Everyone moved on to other things. Just 2 months later, the attention of the nation was riveted on Chuck Yeager, as the man with the right stuff broke the sound barrier and our own space program was officially underway. Whatever happened at Roswell was quickly forgotten by all, except those who were actually there.
This was right after the war. I say right after, it was a year and a half, but even so, everyone who'd been in the service during the actual war period had been always told, don't talk to anybody, don't tell them what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera.
I think you've got to take a couple things into consideration. The 509th was a very highly classified organization. They were the only ones in the world capable of handling and delivering an atomic weapon. If you didn't have a need to know, you didn't ask. I was a bombardier, amongst other duties. I never was permitted to go near an airplane that had the bomb racks capable of handling an atomic weapon. I never asked to. I knew that I wasn't supposed to, so that was the end of it. You've got a different frame of mind back in 1947 than you have in 1994.
Frank Joyce was a radio personality at the time and spoke with rancher Mac Brazel. He believed national security may have motivated the cover-up.
That was a different era than now. You didn't have the complex society that we have now. You did not have TVs, cameramen, as we have scheduled here, a news reporter like yourself with a backing of all sorts of people and all the best equipment in the world to report everything that happened. So when a statement came out on the news wire that simply said it's a weather balloon, people were inclined to believe it. And I don't say these things lightly because I have great respect for our military and was at that time very, I would say, as much of a patriot as anyone. And as I said, given the mindset of people at that time, if you told me it was something of national security, I wouldn't talk about it.
Times were indeed different in 1947. This was before the era of Vietnam. The 60s and Watergate had not happened, nor the recent savings and loan scandals. It wasn't yet common practice to question everything the government did. It wasn't until 1978 that the file on Roswell was reopened. Stanton Friedman, a nuclear physicist, author, and popular lecturer, was the person who stumbled upon this extraordinary story.
In the course of my lecturing, of course, because I take such a strong stand, the lecture is flying saucers are real. I'm not an apologist, ufologist. A lot of people tell me lots of things. And once when I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at a television station, waiting for a third interviewer, and the station manager's giving me coffee because the girl was late, out of the blue, no previous connection, anything we'd talked about. He says, you know, the guy you ought to talk to is Jesse Marcel. Who's he? Oh, well, he handled pieces in one of these saucers when he was in the military. That got my attention, as you can imagine. I said, well, is he alive? Do you know him? Oh, yeah, he lives over in Houma. I had the faintest idea where Houma, Louisiana was then. I've been there since, of course. We're old ham radio buddies. Great guy. They staged a launch of a radar reflector from a weather balloon and loudly proclaimed, fantasy of flying disc is explained here. All these pictures deal with this silly little radar reflector on a weather balloon. General Ramey gives the explanation. Next day they stage the launch, the media are there, it goes out on the wire, and that was the end of the flying saucer craziness.
The first release, all that material was taken out. Some of it, I understand, got into papers in other parts of the country off the original release. But I spent about 15 or 20 years not knowing whether that was true or not, because this story was really hushed up. I mean, it was shut up entirely.
Judd Roberts managed the radio station in Roswell, where Frank Joyce worked. He recalls that dropping the entire story wasn't a request, it was an order.
I had a call from Washington the next day, right after that, after the news deal had come out, and saying that if we put anything on the air at all, that they were monitoring us, and if there was anything on the air at all, frankly, they'd pull our license. He wasn't talking about a hearing or anything. He said it'll be canceled not later than tomorrow morning.
There are many reports of witnesses being threatened or bullied, or in the case of military personnel, being shipped off to remote locations, all to keep the lid on this story.
Nobody knew about this site except some of the civilians involved, and they were actually threatened into submission. The military went to their homes, they sequestered them at the base and reinforced their oaths of secrecy with physical threats. In other words, you will come to bodily harm if you ever say a word about this.
When people like Stanton Friedman, Don Schmidt, and others went to federal agencies and began probing, one thing they found was that the U.S. government was anything but cooperative with information.
Back in the late 70s, went after the CIA, everybody's favorite target, you know. We want all your UFO information. We don't have any UFO information. You do too. We do not. We appeal. They deny. We go to court. The judge says, do a search of your files, gentlemen, at the CIA. They come back, oh, we found 900 pages of UFO information. After saying they had none, you understand. I naturally filed with the CIA for their 23 UFO documents. They're supposed to respond in 10 working days. That's pretty quick, and you know what's going on. 35 months later, they responded. They agreed to release the first 9. I was ecstatic until I looked at them. We're talking 23 documents, 9's pretty good. They were press abstracts of Eastern European newspaper articles about flying saucers, which the Russians had the day they were published. Their own 14 documents they withheld. They tried to discourage me from appealing. I appealed. 2 years after that, so it took me 5 years, they agreed to release tiny portions of 3 of those documents. This is a released CIA UFO document. Very informative. There are about 8 words or so that you can read there, none of which tell you anything.
Though official information is tough to come by, investigators press onward, inspired perhaps by increasing public curiosity. The popular scientific monthly, Omni magazine, recently featured a Roswell declaration in which readers were invited to join the petition for any information the government may have. There is an ever-growing pile of books, articles, and videos relating to Roswell. It's clear that people want to know.
So the question is, why are they still withholding all this information? Why the cover-up after all these years?
If you had some sort of a national security situation, people just wouldn't talk about it.
I can't imagine any kind of security need from the year of 1947, which may have been valid then, being still valid almost 50 years later.
For many decades, people have posed the very simple yet prophetic question, are we alone? On a starry night, you see beautiful spheres of light flashing across the horizon, defying all earthly logic. Many, perhaps you, have witnessed this very strange expulsion of lights. The question, however, remains, are we alone?
UFOs had been visiting the planet Earth before recorded history, and this goes clear back beyond even the Old Testament, which is dated by Archbishop Usher as 4000 BC.
The modern UFO phenomenon, or should I say the modern UFO wave, began in February of 1942 with an incident called the Battle of Los Angeles, in which a UFO actually parked itself over the city of Culver City for a period of several hours, and a photograph of this object actually appeared on the front page of the Los Angeles Times and the Wall Street Journal at that time. And then, of course, the later incidences began to occur with the crash of what we believe to be extraterrestrial saucers outside of Roswell, New Mexico, and then the famous sighting of Kenneth Arnold over Mount Rainier, who coined the term flying saucers, which is where we get the term flying saucers today.
UFO sightings have taken place over major cities and in full view of many, many people. For instance, the one that was taken over San Francisco, California. We have pictures of UFOs that were taken in formation, if you please, over Washington, D.C. And then there were some over Baltimore. There were some over Miami, Florida. Some over Chicago. Some over New York City, seen by many, many people. Only these particular sightings, for some reason, did not make the front pages.
Since the sightings in Mexico City began, we have actually had more mass sightings by more people. A pair of rather large flying saucers actually parked themselves over Mexico City, were videotaped from hundreds of different locations, and were witnessed by close to 27 million people. Gulf Breeze, Florida is particularly hot right now. Fife, Alabama. There are areas in Wisconsin which are very, very rife with activity. Just recently in the media, there have been places in Michigan, along the lakes there, along Lake Michigan, on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan, in which there's been a mass amount of activity. For many years, there was activity at a place called Area 51, which I personally had blown the lid off of and investigated, and I believe a lot of that was military activity, and I believe it was moved in the early part of 1994.
One of the hot spots on the desert as far as UFO communication and landings and sightings are concerned seem to be the high desert area in Giant Rock, right near Yucca Valley. That seems to be a place where people congregate by the hundreds, and they do see some strange things out there. Another place is on the edge, which is called the Mailbox area of Area 51, not too far from Las Vegas, Nevada. You will see things in the sky that defy human imagination.
By about 1986-87 or so, there started to be some very unusual things that were spotted around that area, which led us as researchers to begin to investigate this wave of UFO activity. And it got to the point of where I could take a group of people out there, and we would camp out by the fence just on the other side of the border of Area 51 and basically see flying saucers, flying virtually on a timetable basis every Wednesday night from about 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m., or whenever the sun would set until about 9:30 or so, and then starting up again about 4:45 a.m. Thursday morning the next morning.
In the files of the National Investigations Committee, we have quite a few reports on the famous Roswell, New Mexico sighting. Now, it appears that though this was perhaps one of the most widely acclaimed evidences of a UFO governmental secrecy and cover-up, the facts pertaining to that particular sighting are so uncanny because you had witness after witness after witness after witness attesting to one particular story, and the Air Force investigators and the press following the Air Force investigators more so than the individual witnesses concocted a story that was nothing but a collapsed weather balloon. Following the rules of evidence, there is no doubt in my mind nor in the minds of any individual with an ounce of brain who reads the report exactly as it happened as opposed to the report of the cover-up. There was a crashed UFO on the outskirts of Roswell, New Mexico.
What exactly constitutes proof? I mean, nothing counts. Photographs, they claim, can now be faked. And of course, we're talking about photographs that date all the way back to the 1940s or so. And they say, so photographic evidence can be easily faked, so that doesn't count. Eyewitness testimony doesn't count, even though the eyewitness testimony comes from presidents, popes, prime ministers, generals, police officers, individual that we trust with our very lives, firemen, et cetera, but their testimony doesn't count. Videotape doesn't count, simply because it is supposedly that too can be faked. Film doesn't count. Top secret government documents don't count because they can all be forged. So My challenge to them is what exactly counts as proof? If you wanted to prove the existence of UFOs in a court of law, it could be done relatively simply. But the fact is that you have the various UFO debunkers who would much rather attack the reputations of the people who saw something rather than actually dealing with the evidence.
You can go out to the desert or out to any place that's completely void of the bright lights of any given city, and you choose yourself a certain frame within that framework and look at the sky and keep watching the sky. You will invariably see strange lights. By strange, I mean multicolored lights, and they'll move sometimes in a zigzag formation, sometimes in a straight line, and they're not stars, and they're not satellites, because satellites have an established pattern, and so do stars, unless they're falling stars. But usually out in the desert area, you can choose and watch, and something up there out of the ordinary will occur.
Stories of women being impregnated by aliens have circulated for years. Tonight, we hear from people claiming to be the offspring of such encounters. It can be a traumatic experience to meet your biological parents if you've been adopted. But what if your father is an alien? This is the story Eddie Page told us.
I am a genetic experiment that has evolved for the last 40+ years. People I've come to know are from a star system called the Pleiades. I am one of their children, and I am one of many children. I want people to know that I am not the only one, because I have 7 sisters who are identical to me.
I am a sister of the seven sisters of Eddie Page, the hybrid alien. I don't like the word alien. I like to call us celestial beings.
From the period of 1953 to 1955, with the knowledge that the United States government received from these beings from the Pleiades, there was genetic experiments allowed for certain technology exchange under the understanding that this technology would be used for the benefit of all mankind. There was a list given to the United States government of the women that was selected at random to participate in these genetic experiments. My mother happened to be one of them participants. My mother wasn't supposed to have children. She had a complete hysterectomy, but about 4 months later, I was born. When we were born, we were sent back out west. We've been told to a base, a military-sponsored base, where these children were analyzed and kept in isolation, and then the government selected government-sponsored families to raise these kids as humans.
I have been experiencing things all of my life, not realizing what it all meant until about the last 9 months, 10 months. And as a child, I was experiencing beings in my bedroom.
It was very traumatic to actually see something that I've been raised all my life that doesn't exist, to actually see a craft land in front of me and beings come off and say, they are why I'm here. I've got to know my father, who is a Palladian from a planet in the star system called Treasuous.
I have been a healer all my life, and I've had a light that pulsates through my body, which has had a tremendous effect on catastrophic diseases.
Eddie told us about the unusual experience he had while in the Marine Corps in Vietnam.
Our mission was to assassinate the premier of North Vietnam. At this time, there was 12 of us that sent out in this reactionary team, and we were, something went haywire, and every one of us got killed. And I remember all of a sudden, there was no existence no more. It was just like everything had stopped for me. And I remember a very bright white light. I don't know where it came from, but the next thing I know that I'm looking down and I'm seeing my body being restructured. I'm seeing some odd, there was like 7 or 8 odd looking beings. They were working on me.
When Eddie was taken up on the ship, I was by his side the whole time and administering my light to him, to his forehead, while they were replacing his body with the 8 alien organs.
And then next thing I know, I'm found 11 days later in a rice paddy and I'm picked up by the U.S. Army. Medical records and medical tests done here in the past year and a half have substantiated what I've been saying, that a lot of my internal system, my heart, my blood cannot be identified, even to the existence I have an extra vertebrae and an extra rib.
Eddie and his sister Victoria report on seeing the Pleiadians often.
They'll always throw flares. Sometimes they'll throw as many as 20 flares down in a location, kind of a little celebration.
They will throw out streamers, which, like what she says, like they look like flares. And what they are electrical streamers, and they charge the atmosphere. And this is a way of identifying themselves.
Eddie says the Pleiadians have been visiting our planet for the last 1,000 years, nurturing our growth. And he says the best is yet to come.
I will tell you, probably in the year 1997, there's going to be one of the most beautiful announcements in the world has ever known. It's going to be the greatest event that mankind has ever known.
Close encounters of the fifth kind is a subject more people are talking about. But not everyone believes stories of contact or abduction by extraterrestrials. Are they made up, or are some really communicating with beings from another dimension? Well, not shaken by such experiences, two men have turned theirs into careers. Artists from different eras have depicted images from people to impressions to dreamlike visions. Modern-day artists are filling a void in the art world. They're creating what extraterrestrials look like. While some use their imagination, others apply their talents to record what they see. Carlos Macias from Mount Washington, a suburb of Los Angeles, paints beings he's met on the planet Zakar. Tell us exactly what sort of paintings you do.
Basically, I paint extraterrestrial. Those are figurative paintings. I paint energies, energies that are conveyed to me in the form of the shapes that I paint.
When did you first start having these visionary experiences? How long ago?
My first experience was in 1972. I was in Nicaragua during the earthquake, and I started to see all kind of flying saucers around Managua, and I started to get more intrigued by it. And as I did more and more, I started to feel messages, extraterrestrial messages.
When you experience these things, how do you know what happens?
Well, I start feeling those telepathic energies, I start to feel the radiation.
Carlos's paintings blend movement with shapes that seem to vibrate on the canvas. He aims to create visual music, a new language.
This is a musician, Zakar, as you can see, he's transforming sound waves into radiation. People from Zakar probably come from the same fire than we did, from the same energy, creative energy than we did. And obviously they're trying to help this world, to continue to exist. I only had good experience in Zakar. I never had nothing but a run happen to me.
While Carlos took journeys to another planet, almost like a sightseer, another artist, Steve Neal, experienced a more dramatic phenomenon, abduction. Since he was a child, he remembers beings testing him and believes his profession was brought about by a lifetime of extraterrestrial encounters. You've got quite a collection here. Tell me a little bit about what you do for a living.
What I do for a living is I make aliens and monsters and props and stuff for science fiction movies. I feel that this experience with this other intelligences has definitely influenced my interest in things like Star Trek and astronomy and science fiction greatly. I had a connection with the sky, with the stars. It was the thing that I felt most comfortable with was aviation, the stars primarily. When I was a little kid, I didn't even feel right about my physical form. That felt odd to me, and my surroundings felt odd, and my parents didn't seem like my parents to me. And these are very, very crazy things. A lot of times, how it works is that you'll remember a dream. Now, I remember dreams going all the way back into childhood, just like they happened yesterday, because they were so traumatic and they were so vivid that I now believe that they were actual conscious memories, and that's why I remember them so well.
Why do you think you were abducted?
Well, that's always a difficult question to answer. My answer is very, very crazy, you know, as well as a lot of other people feel that somehow we're connected to this experience beyond just being taken casually from our bedrooms or our cars to see, gee, what a human being is like. In actuality, that somehow we're part of their culture and that we're here in this form to basically influence the culture from within the inside and to watch it.
Do you feel you belong more with them than you do with us?
I have to admit that I do, actually, yeah. They tell me that when this is done, whatever it is I'm doing down here, whatever it is we're all doing down here, all the millions of people who claim this, is that we get to go home after this.
What do these beings look like?
Well, they're quite classic as far as a classic description is concerned. They're large-headed, black-eyed, very much kind of like the Close Encounters type image.
Are they all similar? Are there different races?
They seem to be similar within the black-eyed ones, which some people refer to as grays. I don't, but for that type, there's a large one, usually about 5 foot tall. That one has the most intimate dealings with the person involved, with the individual who's having this experience. The smaller ones, which resemble the larger one, were about 3.5 foot to 4 foot, and they generally seem to be more like drones. The other type that are seen are sort of a Eurasian type, which are very human looking, and then there's another type which I've only been privy to a couple of times, one time real clearly, and that was the famous reptile type being. As in the film 2001, they have been here since the very beginning, influencing our evolution. In fact, they have gone as far as to say, like in 2001, before that they actually created the life on this world, that they seeded this world.
The United Nations promotes peace and unity among the countries of the world. It's only a question of time before the planets of the universe require such a Council for Galactic Matters. Sheldon Niddle and Peggy McConnell have made it their mission to guide us through this journey. They claim to represent planet Earth in the Galactic Federation.
The Galactic Federation is a group right now of just about 200,000 star systems and star leagues whose sole process and purpose is to bring light into this galaxy.
The Galactic Federation acts as the United Nations for the planets in the Sirius galaxy.
Sirius is a star system. It's approximately 8.3 light years from us. A light year is approximately 5.9 trillion miles.
Sheldon says that in order for us to become part of the Sirius star system, we have to change. And that is where the Galactic Federation comes in.
The Federation is here to help us shift as humans into our full consciousness. What is happening is we have been designated as a major galactic center or showcase for the entire concept of moving our entire galaxy.
He claims the Galactic Federation has instructed him to prepare planet Earth for its major journey to another solar system. There is a telepathic link between Sheldon and Sirians.
I was briefed by a whole group of Sirians. There's a Sirian computer ship way out in the outer parts of our particular star system, our solar system. So I'm constantly in contact, I'm constantly getting information, I'm constantly being told what's going on, both up there and down over here.
The Galactic Federation has a tremendous task in the galaxy.
Well, right now, they are controlling the different gates, stargates, which are the interdimensional portals through which all the different groups go.
Both Peggy and Sheldon are in contact with the Galactic Federation on a daily basis.
He'll get the ship's reports, where I'll get the counseling reports, or I'll get the medical team reports. I have a ship and I have a command. My primary purpose is counseling. And then I'm able to communicate with the different civilizations, different planets, and different processes.
Sheldon has been contacted by the Sirians since childhood.
I've been afraid to say it to anybody because I thought they would say I was totally crazy. Most of us right now are here for a basic purpose. That purpose is to help this planet shift into its full galactic crystalline consciousness, as I like to call it, and also help all of us as Earth beings, as Earth humans, become fully conscious beings.
Reaching full consciousness means major changes in our outlook on life and in our physical bodies. As planet Earth's electrical and magnetic fields collapse, the atoms and the composition of the DNA in our bodies will be modified to form a new body. We will not be living in the third-dimensional reality, but in the reality of the galactic light. The fundamental physical changes also lies in the composition of our DNA.
If we would just open our eyes and see that we are the blessings and we are the gift, that really is going to transform our whole galaxy.
Sheldon and Peggy claim that all these changes on Earth are taking place now.
Because we are being shifted spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and most importantly, physically as well.
Once we have reached our full potential, we will be ready for the final part of the journey. As Earth approaches the photon belt in 1996, it will mark the end of our present civilization as we know it. The photon belt is a huge mass of light and energy. It will be responsible for moving our solar system into a higher dimension, the fifth dimension. Our planet will move into a new position in space, closer to the Sirius star system.
Then we will be in a wholly new set of spatial relationships.
Once our planet has shifted to the new position in space, we will become part of the Sirius star system. The Sirius galaxy is said to be a number of civilizations together, most of them looking like us in their physical appearances.
Some are smaller, some are bigger, some are almost transparent, some are even more humanoid looking, if that's possible, than we are. They have all different skin colors. They are basically our ancestors. They're also, as part of this entire civilization of the Galactic Federation, non-human groups such as amphiboids, you might call them like salamander or frog-type peoples, reptoid peoples.
Sheldon told me that one Sirian council, Washta, has guided him through his life.
Washta is a person I've been very close to since I was a little boy. I've seen more and more that the message that he gave me and is continuing to give me is a message of great, incredible love and hope for our planet.
Sheldon feels that it will be easy to convince people of this incredible change because it has already started.
They feel deep in here in their heart that it's true because they feel that experience inside themselves as well. And this whole new reality is our full conscious planet, our full conscious galactic civilization, and the final intermixing and contact with the whole process of our space brothers and sisters and ourselves coming together again.
They say that we will play an important role in the Sirian galaxy.
Because we're going to be the teachers the next round. And so it's very exciting to see, even in the Bible it says that the last shall be first. Well, we're the last planet to go conscious in the solar system, but the next round of our solar system will be the teachers to teach these other planets how to use free will, how to be loving, and how to be compassionate.
They feel that the most important thing is that we are going back to where we belong. We are constantly discovering new, intriguing insights about our water friends, the dolphins. Their intelligence is often described as that of a higher being. And it is even said by some that dolphins may be our link as messengers to other life forms in the universe. Dolphins and whales. The ocean is their playground, and myths and tales about their extraordinary abilities have been proven to be more than pleasant fantasies. People claim that dolphins and whales are here for a purpose, that these sea mammals possess the answer to questions about mankind and the universe. Everybody is intrigued by these graceful, friendly mammals. A few people have made it their lifelong mission to explore the existence of dolphins. Tricia Lamb-Fauerstein is one of these people.
One morning in December of 1992, I woke up and I was suddenly overwhelmed with the need to learn everything I could about dolphins and whales.
What Trish experienced is known as the call of the dolphins. It can happen through a dream, in a vision, or simply out of the blue. There is no explanation. Only if we could accept that dolphins and whales have an ability to communicate on a level that is beyond human comprehension.
There's a lot of channeled information that indicates that dolphins and whales came here from Sirius. Some say that they were godlike beings on Sirius and that they came to this planet to colonize it and take care of it.
One of their many functions on Earth is believed to be that of record keepers.
Whales and dolphins were sent here to store the history of this planet, of humans, of dolphins and whales, and all other beings.
Interaction between humans and dolphins has shown mysterious healings in humans with emotional problems like depression, fear, pain. People are stunned by the cases where disabled and autistic children improved greatly after spending time with dolphins.
With their sonar abilities, they can actually see into your body. They can detect problems, imbalances in your energy field, and then they beam back a frequency that helps to bring you back into balance. Another function they have is interdimensional travel or intergalactic travel. Supposedly dolphins and whales can take on their light body and travel anywhere in the galaxy or to any dimension they want to.
With the capability of interdimensional travel, it is said that dolphins transport humans from this realm into the afterlife. As record keepers, guides, and healers, the purpose dolphins and whales have seems never-ending.
Even Carl Sagan has pointed out that we have living right here on our planet an extremely intelligent and sensitive alien intelligence that lives in our waters.
If this is true, maybe dolphins and whales are introducing us to new ideas and possibilities. What started out as a weekend outing turned into an unexpected adventure for Steve and Sandy. It involved the sighting of a UFO. The difference is that dolphins played an enormous role in their experience. One evening, they decided to go to a campsite on a hill, close to a remote stretch of the beach.
And it was pretty late when we got there, so no one was around. And we hiked up a little bit farther to see the view of the ocean.
Finding the perfect spot, they decided to settle down for the night.
We were relaxing, talking, and looking at the ocean from the mountain. And I thought I heard something. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was just me hearing noises.
It's getting louder. What do you think it is?
It sounds like dolphins.
Dolphins?
It seemed like they were talking to us and they were trying to tell us something, what we didn't know at that time.
Yeah, and I grew up around here and we always heard them cackling.
And the strangest thing ever happened.
What is it?
I don't know.
We saw this huge ball of light, reds and blues, and the light was glistening right over there on the water, right where the dolphins were swimming.
What is it, Steve?
Jeez, I don't know. What is that thing?
And you know, first we couldn't believe what we saw.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
It really freaked us out, and we just sort of stared at it. You know, and then the panic set in of what was happening.
Steve and Sandy told us that it would take them a long time to accept what happened to them. Even today, they are still very reluctant to share their experience with other people.
I don't know. You know, everyone's heard of strange encounters. And people say that dolphins are a higher intelligence being. But all I know is what I saw.
Steve and Sandy truly believe that the dolphins were connected to the UFO they saw, as if the dolphins wanted to prepare them. Dolphins and whales have a more developed intellect and sensitivity than we do.
There's a lot of things about us that make us far more like dolphins than we are like primates, say, who are supposed to be our ancestors. We don't have hair. We perspire and sweat. None of the other primates do. We have a layer of body fat. So there's lots of indications that we were once water beings and may have a common ancestry with the dolphins and whales. There's a wonderful story in one of the books I have about a man who was out snorkeling or scuba diving, I believe it was, and he got a cramp and could no longer swim, and he was about to drown, and he was praying for someone to come and rescue him, and a bottlenose dolphin came and draped himself right over his dorsal fin and carried him in and tossed him on the shore, because this man wasn't even capable of swimming into the beach at that point, and saved his life.
wherever dolphins and whales represent, we are constantly reassured by their harmonious presence. Maybe they are the obvious evidence we've been looking for in our quest to explain where we came from and where we're going to. Each year in this country alone, we spend millions of dollars and countless hours performing scientific research. But are we actually unwilling participants in an even larger research project conducted by extraterrestrials? Although our government continues to deny any knowledge of beings from other worlds, many citizens not only say extraterrestrials exist, but they say they've actually had personal contact with them. In fact, many say they've had the sometimes terrifying experience of being abducted by them. Look through any bookstore and you'll find a variety of books containing detailed accounts of abductions and apparent human research by aliens. Often they are written by psychologists, PhDs, and MDs. Often reports were elicited from patients during hypnosis. Many give detailed descriptions of their abductors. Some have made intricate sketches from their memories, and some abductees even maintain that they were impregnated and gave birth to hybrid offsprings on subsequent abductions. But just imagine if you had such an experience. Who would you tell? And who would believe you? Psychologists say most abductees would be reluctant to go public with their bizarre stories. And for these reasons, those who have come forward may only be the tip of the iceberg.
The reason I've decided to tell this now is because I want other people who have had similar experiences to know that they're not alone. They're not crazy. I was going to school in Missoula, and it was spring break, so I was headed home to see my folks. The sun was going down when I hit the cutoff to 191. You know, it gets pretty windy and slow in that area. It's very desolate. After a while, I came around this one curve, and I saw this really bright light. It was in the middle of the road. It was so blinding. At first I thought it was the spotlight from like a police car. But then I realized that it was too high off the ground to be coming from a car. So I put my foot on the brake, but it didn't do anything. I just kept going. The motor ran like my foot was still on the gas. But then the truck slowed down and stopped right in front of that light. I was so scared. I had absolutely no control over my body. As much as I didn't want to go, I opened the car door and I started walking towards the light. I remember thinking, why am I doing it? But I just did it. All of a sudden I went out and everything was dark all around me. But it was like I could make out this ramp. And then all of a sudden this door went up. I couldn't see what the door was in. My eyes were fixed on the opening. I started walking in. It was like my body just took me in. Then I don't know what happened. I guess I must have blacked out because one minute I'm walking and the next minute I woke up on this table, like a medical table. All these medical instruments were poking at me and I could hear this whirring sound, like a dentist drill, but not quite that loud. I couldn't feel any pain when they touched me. I couldn't feel anything at all, really. I just felt like my body was made of lead. I couldn't move. Even my fingers, I wanted to see who was doing this to me, but my eyes, they wouldn't move. I was totally paralyzed. I don't even know how long I was lying there. It seemed like time was different. And then, I guess I must have blacked out again. The next thing I remember, I was back in my truck. The motor was still running and the bright light was gone. My head hurt. It ached, but I got back on the road, feeling very confused. I looked at my watch. It was 1 a.m. I'd expected to be home by 10. I finally made it home, I went in and looked in the mirror. I couldn't see any marks in my body, but I knew I didn't dream this. Then I looked at my head. Right inside the hairline, there was this little mark. It's never gone away, and it's been a year now. For a long time, I didn't tell anyone about this. Graduated now, and I have a good job. People would think I'm crazy, but I know this really happened.
The state of Oregon has been the site of many strange happenings. Reports of monsters in Crater Lake, the 1909 Portland poltergeist outbreak, Bigfoot seen in Tillamook. Well, we've discovered yet another close encounter here. Let's take a look. Over the last few years, the hottest spot for UFOs seems to be Mexico, where, according to UFO magazine, thousands of sightings were reported, and some were caught on film and video by astonished onlookers. Volcanoes are an attraction to UFOs, according to researchers. They hypothesized that the ships in some way use the Earth's geothermal energy, which remains in local hotspots long after the volcano cools. Central Mexico and central Oregon have had a great deal of relatively recent volcanic activity. The landscape of America's Northwest is dominated by mainly solitary volcanic peaks over 10,000 feet. In central Oregon, several of these majestic mountains are clustered together. It is also the part of the range that underwent the most recent volcanic activity. And it is this area around the peaks, called the Three Sisters, that has reported the largest amount of recent UFO sightings. In the 1840s, these three volcanic mountains were named Faith, Hope, and Charity by the local Methodist camp. They later became collectively known as the Three Sisters. The U.S. Forest Service has designated this vast, remote area the Three Sisters Wilderness Area. Open only to hikers, it's a place that has very little human disturbance. Most commonly, UFO reports involve a single passing or harboring ship in the air. But we were recently contacted by a backpacker who had the incredible experience of seeing several ships together on the ground. Now here is her amazing story.
Well, it was spring, and it was just starting to warm up, and I thought I'd take a hike for a couple of days out in the Three Sisters. I hiked in about 3 hours, and I got to a place where there were some great rock formations. I thought I'd camp there so I could hike around in the rocks in the next morning. I put my tent up on this kind of butte where I had this fantastic view. Then, I don't know, I think it was about 3 in the morning, I woke up because there was this bright light shining in through the tent. It was really, really weird. I couldn't imagine what it could be. I looked outside and I couldn't believe it. Down below at the base of those huge rocks, I saw 3 circular objects. They were really bright, lighting up the whole area. It was the strangest thing I ever saw. I remember thinking, nobody is ever going to believe this. Then I saw a 4th one, and it actually was in the air, kind of hovering, and it started to land with the other ones. I was totally amazed. I started to feel very strange, like very weak all of a sudden. I'm not sure what happened then. All I know is I woke up outside the tent on the ground. I looked down there and there was nothing anywhere. I never sleepwalked in my life. I knew what I'd seen was real. I had to go down there and look around. There weren't that many trees in there with all the rocks, but the ones that were there were all charred. And there were these powdery ashes scattered around. I'm not one of those people that goes looking around for UFOs, but I'm convinced that this was something from another world.
But the story doesn't end there. Only days later, photographs and videos were taken in the area showing UFOs strikingly similar to those described by Karen. This shot was snapped by a local woman from her back porch. You can see two of the Three Sisters peaks in the background. And this photo was taken by a tourist as he stood at a viewpoint area overlooking Bend. And this dramatic picture was captured on the night of May the 6th, near the town of Sisters, Oregon. Extraordinary. But possibly the most interesting of all is this home video footage shot by a Los Angeles tourist, Jeff Kindle. When it's played back in slow motion, it's quite incredible. When you think about our little planet in relation to the vastness of the universe, it seems silly to say that we are the only life forms in existence. If we could agree that life in other galaxies, other solar systems, and other planets is a probability, then it would make sense that they would be interested in space exploration just the way we are. Something to think about. Good night.